have a good video for you guys this week.
That's right. We're going to talk about our top 5 favorite boondocking spots around the U.S. since we've been full-time RVing for the last 2.5 years.
Yep, it is our favorite thing to do. We wish we could do it year-round, but there have been 5 places that have stood out because they had the wow factor. You know, that quintessential, that thing you want when you want to go boondocking. So let's get to it.
So when we first started full-time RVing, back for those of you who don't know our story, we started 2.5 years ago, and we had never RV'd before. We never owned one. We were not weekend warriors, nothing like that. And so I remember Darlene, she booked campgrounds literally for an entire year. It was not even on our radar to even think about not being plugged up somewhere to a pedestal. And it wasn't until, gosh, I don't remember what inspired us to do this.
Yeah, I don't know when we turned that corner. I think we saw other channels going. I think we were getting a little tired of the tight campgrounds and the noisy campgrounds. And so we were like, hey, let's just try this boondocking thing. We had done some harvest hosts, but the kind of boondocking we're going to be talking about is truly off-grid. It's not having neighbors run it. It's not like quartzsite in the winter where there's rigs everywhere, like a big sea of, we're talking about maybe you can see your neighbor boondocking.
Yeah, it's basically camping. It's going off, doesn't have to be in the mountains, but that tends, to be where we go, places like that. But you can boondock. I mean, there's places all over the country with different landscapes, by beaches, and we haven't been to any of those places. I'm sure they're awesome. We look forward to doing that. But so we went ahead at some point, we invested in some solar. Now, you don't have to have solar to boondock. If you want to have any electricity, like true AC electricity, where you can, run a fan or even run an air conditioner, coffee maker, you do need to have AC electricity, but you can get that with a generator. We didn't necessarily do it that way, but you could certainly do that. And in fact, we encourage people that if you're nervous about the whole boondocking concept, we say, hey, do you have a generator? Most people do. Just like go out, to a boondocking spot and turn on the generator. That way it'll have electricity and you can see what it's all about. And just imagine if you want to thinking about investing in solar and all that kind of stuff, imagine what it would be like if you didn't have to listen to that generator all day. You had just the silence and still had electricity. It's cool.
Yeah, so it's cool. So we actually have a 44-foot toy hauler. It's an Alliance Valor. And we have
it's a big rig.
It's a big rig with a dually truck, the Ford 350 that we use to pull it. So we have a substantial rig, and a lot of people think that's problematic to go boondocking in. We haven't found that's the case. You just have to do a little bit more research, and we'll get to that. But we have about 1,500 watts on the roof of solar. And what are the batteries?
Redodo brand batteries. We have 4 200 amp batteries. So they're like, if you could imagine just like a standard size battery, these batteries are twice as long, but it's basically just all those, 4 of those. And so that gets us by. Now, we've said on numerous occasions, and it's still the truth, we do not use our air conditioners when we go off grid.
We can, we wouldn't be able to run them that long.
Right, they zap your batteries. We do not have a mini split for those of you that are experienced boondockers. Kind of wish we did. It's going to be more challenging to put that on a toy hauler, but that's a little bit more of an advanced topic. But the thing is, we go to spots, especially out west. One of the things that we love about going out west, not only is it beautiful, but there's like zero humidity. And being Floridians, we had no concept of what it was like to live in no humidity. It's so
few and very few bugs out west. So that's why there's more BLM land, public lands to camp on, kind of in the western side of the United States. So that's where a lot of these are located. But we wanted to share with you that you could be big. 2, you can go and take that big rig off, into some kind of remote areas. But there's a trick to it, which we'll share at each location, kind of how we scouted out the spots and found the spots and stuff like that. But these are like wow moments. So let's get to the first one.
First one, we stayed outside of Zion National Park in Utah. Now, some of you surely heard of Zion National Park. Maybe you've even been there before. Maybe you've even camped there before, but you may not have realized that there's so much boondocking that's 20, 30 minutes right outside the park.
Yeah, absolutely. So the place that we stayed was off Highway 9, and it's called Sheep's Bridge Road. Now, this was a little over a year ago, so I'm thinking everything is still there, but there are markers you need to look for, and that will help you know where you can camp. There's a whole sign right when you pull up to the area that tells you about it. So make sure you're parking in a legit spot. You go back and watch our very first video was on this adventure. And so you definitely want to, I'll put it on the screen, I'll put it in the description, because you definitely want to go back and get all the hikes we did, all the places we visited, the exact situation. We had a nice little knock on the door situation because we were not in the right spot, but it worked out. Don't worry. So make sure you do pick a good spot, a legit spot. A lot of BLM areas don't have any markings. This particular one has markings. So
yeah, and if you don't go off Sheep's Bridge Road, there are tons of areas right around there. There's all these roads that you'll see campers out in the distance. Yeah. I rode around a lot of those areas on my bike, and I know for sure that there were probably literally hundreds of RVs that are out there boondocking.
So let's talk about why this is one of our favorite spots. I think mainly it was the second time we'd ever boondocked, but it was the most spectacular views, the colors, I mean, we could hardly see another person near us. There was only a couple times where someone came a little closer, but it really was stunning.
Yeah, it's just, we had to pinch ourselves that we couldn't believe we were camping there and camping there for free. And it was super quiet. But the other thing too is that on the other, kind of going the other direction, you go down into town and you've got all the grocery stores and all the regular stores that you need in 20-30 minutes away. Yeah. We love those types of locations. We love
when boondocking locations that you're within 20-30 minutes of some other city or something to do, or
yeah, that's the
key. But we didn't dump or get more water, I believe, while we were there, but there is a Maverick just 20 minutes into Zion that you can do that. I'm pretty sure there was a laundry facility there too, so it really does have everything you need. But it is definitely one to put on your wish list for boondocking, because it was definitely by far one of our favorites. Okay, this next one is one of my favorites for several reasons, but it'll be different than Barry's. But it is in between Salida and Buena Vista, Colorado, in a little bitty area called Nathrop. And we found this on iOverlander, and our friends from the channel The Wandering Shores did a video on it, which made me really take interest.
Yeah, this to me was our quintessential Colorado experience. Oh. It's because we had never been to Colorado before, and we always dreamt of obviously being in a beautiful mountain area. Check. And also being close to cool towns with a lot of culture. Buena Vista is definitely that place. Great restaurants there, very cool bars, a very outdoorsy kind of environment. People riding bikes, and they had kayaks, and I mean, it just lots of people driving around in 4x4s and stuff. It's just very much. In fact, I think they do like the world champions of. What is that, river rafting or something like that there, rapids, that kind of stuff. And so it just, for an outdoorsman, it was sort of a playground. I absolutely made sure that I made it down and go fishing in the river and took my waders out because I just wanted to have that experience. No, I did not do fly fishing because I don't have a clue how to do that.
Well, the thing that it was really an interesting thing for me at that particular location at that particular time, when it was the first time I was, for those of you know, I had an accident over the summer, and I was in one of the big sea collars for over 8 weeks, and I had just got it off, and we got out of the city. We were miserable in Colorado Springs and in the city, and this was our get out to nature and start healing kind of trip. But it is just everything I had hoped Colorado to be. Just these beautiful vistas, the beautiful mountains around you, animals, just
lots of cows.
Lots of cows.
That's what we learned. We learned that cows, that was on purpose. No, this is more of it's a boondocking area, but I think it's state sponsored.
It's something like that, but they put the cows there to
they chew the grass and they just roam all over the place, and some nights they're pretty noisy.
They are. They're mooing, man.
Yeah. But the other thing too is that of course I love to ride we love to ride our bikes. At the time, obviously Darlene wasn't doing that because she was pretty injured still, but so I got to go out and kind of do mountain biking kind of stuff. It was like a kid in a candy store. Because I could just ride out our front door and I could go just adventure. They had great trails, very challenging trails, and I just had a ball. And again, free.
Yeah, and it wasn't super busy when we were there. I have to look up the dates. It had to have been September.
It was right pre-fall.
Yeah.
At
So
one
the leaves
point
were starting to turn.
we were there for a little while, and that we saw some snow kind of show up on the peak, and we started to feel it too. It got down below 40 at night sometimes.
But the cool thing about these locations is, I mean, we could see somebody here and there, but we had our own little nook. I mean, we felt comfortable letting Hugo play ball and stuff like that. It was a really great boondocking spot in that sense where, you could see people, but you felt really secluded, and it was so peaceful. It was so healing for me at that time. Yeah. There's lots of walks and hikes you can do up in that area, so there's plenty to do. Plus you have, not only Buena Vista, like Barry said, super cool town, lots of breweries, lots of fun places like that, little town shopping areas. They have a Saturday farmers market. But you could keep going. You can go up to Leadville, and that was a really cool town. Yeah,
Leadville is an abandoned mining town that got tons of history there, and there's been a nonprofit organization that's tried to keep it, because otherwise these places kind of fall down and fall apart. So they've kind of kept it up a little bit, enough for people to come, and but you feel like it's like awesome. Going back to 1870 or something.
It's an amazing day trip. Yeah, for sure. Now, as far as logistics go in this spot, so it really is kind of snuggled right in between Salida to your south and Buena Vista to the north. There are options for dumping and getting water in both. I think you went to the Welcome Center in Salida.
Yeah, the Welcome Center in Salida is awesome because it has both a dump station and water. Now, the dump station does cost $10. It's one of those machines, basically. I don't know if you ever tried them, but you put your credit card in, and the little lock thing comes off of the tank. But works great, perfect. It was busy on weekends. During the week, there was never anybody there. And then there's water. There's actually 2 water spigots on the building. One guy kind of clued me into another one that was around the building. He was in the know. A lot of these van campers and stuff, they'll come and fill up their water there. But again, free, and it was no big deal to get there.
So, and then as far as grocery and laundry, we went to Buena Vista. In fact, the place, I wrote it down for you, it's called Wally Lala's Laundromat, but it was totally great to do laundry.
They actually had showers there.
They did have showers. So it's kind of expensive though.
Yeah, we thought the shower price was a little not so much, but the other thing too is that the grocery store in Buena Vista super expensive. Yeah. So if you drive the other route to Salida and go to Walmart, obviously the prices there were
a lot better.
Reasonable.
And then as far as, we were at a time where we needed to receive a lot of packages, so we used the mailbox there in Buena Vista to receive all of our packages, and that worked out really great. Oh, the Ace Hardware is really nice there.
Yeah, the Ace Hardware is kind of like the middle of, it's like the center of the world when it comes to Buena Vista. They had everything.
So this is another one of those great locations, totally secluded, totally quiet, but really close to everything you need within 20-30 minutes.
Okay, our next one is going to be Laramie, Wyoming.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's a tough one for Darlene because it has sort of a bittersweet. We actually thoroughly enjoyed our time there until she had her accident. That's how the story ends. But the story leading up to that,
it was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, we'd never been to Wyoming, and Wyoming is the least populated state in the entire country, and we found that out firsthand. But it's also a very, kind of, you envision the whole cowboy culture. Sure. It is 100% the cowboy culture. But the town of Laramie, in fact, I don't know that you ever even went downtown with us.
Well, just one time to eat, I think.
My daughter, actually, she and I went to hang out and went downtown, and it is super cute. I mean, it's also very historic. In fact, one of our favorite places was a bookstore. It was upstairs, and it turns out, I thought the building looked really odd. It turns out it was a brothel. And fairly recently. It was like 1950 or something. I don't know. It was crazy. But, so it's a very neat little town as well.
And so our spot was about 15 minutes, I would say, outside of Laramie. And what we did is we staged at the Albany Fairgrounds, which is in Laramie. Not anything to write home about, but it had hookups, and it had a heat wave right before we were supposed to go boondocking, and it was going to be miserable to boondock. So we just stayed there until the heat passed. And what we did is we drove to the 3 spots. I always tell people, when you're going to go boondocking, have an A, B, and C plan, because you never know if the first place is really going to have anything for you. So we narrowed it down to the one we wanted to go to, which our spot was off of Telephone Road, and I'll put all the coordinates in the description. It was stunning.
So beautiful, and It was a really just kind of open area. Now it was up the mountain. So, they're right outside of Laramie. You have this mountain that just kind of goes straight up. The highway goes straight up the mountain. And there was a rest area at the top. There's a Lincoln Memorial right there. And in fact, that's where we ended up getting our water. And then you kind of drive off into the wilderness a little bit. And there's some boondocking spots. Again, many cows. They always have what do they call
the cattle guards.
The cattle guards.
Yeah, they kind of hang out right near the cattle. Just wave hi to them every time you drive back and forth.
Sometimes they're blocking the road, and they'll move. You get a little.
But it's just those rolling hills and
so
just
beautiful.
the vistas. You can see all the mountains around you. And again, it was one of those spots where you it takes your breath away to sit outside and just take it all in. Super. I mean, every once in a while, someone will go down the road, but other than that, there just wasn't that many people around, and it was great for big rigs. Now there were a couple other locations very close by that would be better if you had a smaller rig and you wanted some, there was more trees and stuff like that. Definitely could have gotten away from being seen so much. So if you're into that, and I'll put all 3 locations that I had picked in the description for you. But I think it was important. The staging and going and looking, that made us feel a lot better. The fact that the rest stop was there for water. Now, we did have a challenge with trash at this, but it was we didn't really find a good place for trash the whole time we were there. That was a little challenging. But there was really cool thing. So our daughter was with us, and she's a swimmer, and she needed to swim while she was out of school. Her coach would get mad. So there is a community center in Laramie that has
super
so nice. And you could really work out.
Yeah, nice facility, great showers. Well, showers weren't that great, but still, it was
$7 or something.
But it was super cheap. So we'd go get a workout on, and she would go swimming. Yep. We'd all shower up, and we enjoyed going there a lot.
Yeah, and we do have a video on this. Yes, it's where I had my accident. So there's the accident video you can watch if you really want to know about what happened, because we were boondocking when I had my really serious accident, and so it was kind of a lesson learned in knowing where you're at, having coordinates, being able to tell paramedics where you are, and that kind of thing. So
yeah, and we actually the day of her accident, it was that night, but during the day we actually went to the Cheyenne Frontier Days, which is the largest rodeo in the country,
which
in Cheyenne
was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what, an hour away?
Yeah.
Again, never been to a rodeo. It's really not my thing, I thought, but I mean, it was really exciting. I was like, wow, these guys, I couldn't, and the trick horse riding stuff.
Oh, it's so cool. But you can go back and watch. We have a video on it. We have 2 videos. So the accident video, and then we have a Laramie video where we go into detail about the location and all of the stuff you'll want to know about boondocking there and what to do, what drive. There's a scenic drive you got to take. So go and watch the other video on that. But it was an incredible spot. It really was. And it's definitely one to put on your list.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this next one was outside of Sonoyta, Arizona, and I'm going to say it because I'm probably not going to get it right. The Las Cienegas National Conservation Area.
Yeah, it's actually very close to the Mexico border.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, people were wondering, some people were like, oh, that seems a little sketchy being by the Mexico border. It never really occurred to us.
It didn't. It's so remote, and it's so quiet out there. It wasn't, you didn't really, not like you saw somebody walking through a field or something like that.
Actually had that happen when we were in Joshua Tree, California.
We did see a guy with a little knapsack walking through like he was
he came up
crossing over.
He came up speaking Spanish to me, asking me something about policia.
We just were like,
I'm not policia.
We just,
But that was not here. So we digress.
Okay, so this is actually is a campground. There's no hookups, no facilities, but there is a sign, and it's the Cienegas campground. And I'm going to give you the actual coordinates because that's really what you need. It is a little tricky to get to, but I'll put the roads that you need to turn on because that's probably the most important part of it. We have a video where we kind of feature it a couple different times, so I'll actually link to those as well. But what we liked about this is the area. I mean, it is a little out there, but it is just this stunning landscape of these grasses.
Yeah, these tall grasses
that so
move with the wind. And we'd never seen anything like that before. And it was... And you're just like there right in the middle of it. And it was so quiet and so just sort of pleasant. You could see these mountains off in the distance. I rode my mountain bike or my mountain bike, whatever you want to call it, down through some trails. And you're kind of going through the middle of these grasses. And it was a unique experience, even compared to, because we went there not too long ago. So we boondocked quite a few times prior to that. And we were just like, this is different.
It's so different. Yeah, it's just a beautiful landscape. And again, cows. That's kind of a given in a lot of these areas. And it becomes kind of fun, except when they patty in your area, which you need a little shovel for that.
Sometimes. Yeah, and they really liked, we were staying at one campground, and one of them decided they really liked what we had to eat in our fire pit, and just came up
and just threw a munch
5 foot away from our RV and was just like throwing a munch on whatever was in the fire pit, which I still don't know to this day what it was, but they liked it.
Yeah, that's the charm of boondocking, though. It's just those adventurous things when you're boondocking that are and people ask about that. Do you feel safe? And
you feel totally safe.
Yeah, I've felt more unsafe at a campground than I do boondocking. So exactly. I mean, I always tell people the bad guys are not going to drive all the way out in the middle of nowhere, not even knowing if anyone happens to be there, to randomly rob you. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. So I mean, you have to be smart and chain your stuff up, but that's not a concern, and especially this place.
And we have a big scary dog, so we think we're pretty covered there.
So the logistics of this area is it's very close to Sonoyta.
Yeah, and Sonoyta, in case you're not familiar, because I wasn't, is it's kind of like wine country of Arizona. Very much is. In fact, we had just left an event that our friends, the Border Hookups, put on there called Romp It Up. And if you're not familiar with their channel, go check them out. But they are singer, guitar player types, a husband and wife couple, and they go and they do kind of a gig circuit there. They sing at all these wineries, and so it's very trendy in that regard. There's a bunch of wineries, and so it's very quaint, but it's also pretty sparse. Yeah. They're not. I mean, there's not very many grocery stores. The grocery store is pretty far away. In fact, that was the night that we discovered that actually Dollar General has a lot of stuff.
Yeah, thank goodness for the Dollar General.
If you need coffee creamer, they've got it, and because that's an emergency at our house, if we were out of coffee creamer, and so the Dollar General for the win.
But for dumping, getting water, grocery, like a major grocery store, laundry, it's Sierra Vista. That's the closest. I mean, it's going to take you 35 minutes probably to get there, but they have everything you need. Hardware store, that whole bit. So it's not too far away.
And there's also a fairgrounds. Now, that's where the Border Hookups had their event. And it's right there in the middle of Sonoyta. But they actually have campground spots. So if you want to stay at the fairgrounds, you can stay there. And then they also have water. Now, I don't know if they just make their water available to...
Yeah, I would just call them and ask them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why it would be a big deal, but then again, and it's an active campground. There's horses and stuff that they're out there training, doing stuff. So
it's an option.
It's right there in the heart of town.
Yeah, but this is one of those remote, beautiful places. And if you like wine, there was a cider place, a wine place,
but no real brewery. The only brewery they had there.
It was okay.
There's a beer lover at Fair to Midland.
And there was a really good restaurant called the Stakeout that was right on the corner when you get to
and that amazing guitar player.
Yeah, really, and they have live, and that's the thing about that area is all those little vineyards and wineries, and then the restaurant they support local music, and so there's a lot of music going on. Yeah. So if you're into that, this might be a good location for you. Okay, so this next one's very special. It was the first time we had ever boondocked.
Yeah. Bryce Canyon in Utah.
Yeah.
Now, again, we were not in Bryce Canyon. We were outside of Bryce Canyon, which is a national park. One, of course, many that are in Utah, and they're all gorgeous from what we've heard. But it was our first experience. We were just trying our solar, and I mean, all of it was new to us.
Yeah.
And so Darlene did her homework. What was the name of that road?
What we did is we actually stayed at a campground that was right down the road. I have to put the name of it on the screen because I did not write it down. And we went and scouted it out, but it was Tom's Best Springs Road.
Yeah.
Kind of weird name. But...
that's a pro tip, is that most of these places, there's going to be campgrounds all around, and it's worth it to spend, even if it's $65 a night, to just go. Because the other thing that doing that is not only does it give you a place to go scout out to make sure that you're going to have some place to go boondock, it also gives you the opportunity to do laundry, fill up your fresh tank, dump your black tank, get all prepared for you to go out the next day and go park in a boondocking spot.
Yeah. And it was very close to Bryce. It's also very close to a really cool state park. Actually, it's Kodachrome Basin State Park. Yeah. So that is definitely a trip to consider. And we do have a video on this. It was our very first video that we released, I think. First or second. Anyways, so there's a whole video on what to do, what hikes to take, where to go, what's dog friendly, what's not dog friendly. We went into a lot of detail. We won't do that today, but you can go back and watch that. But I think the thing about this, not only was it the first place. It was just so peaceful and so open. With the spot that we got was a really open spot. So it was the first time we got the relief from campgrounds.
Yeah. And the thing is, we pulled in, I think it was on a Sunday, which is typical. You know, we showed up at the campground on the paid campground on Saturday. We scouted it out. Then on Sunday, we showed up. And when we got there were actually quite a few campers in this one spot, but it was the best place for us to put our RV. And we looked tons of different places.
Yeah.
And so we were a little bummed that we were going to be so close to people. Well, guess what? They all left.
That's a pro tip too. So it may be crowded on a weekend and you don't get the spot you want. Just wait for everybody to start leaving on the Sunday. Yeah. They're going to leave and then you can go get the spot you want. So we didn't move. We stayed where we were. Because we did like the spot we were in. It was very open. That area has a lot of little offshoot roads that if you're in a smaller rig that's a little bit more 4x4-ish, you can get some amazing spots because you're going to be able to drive your rig down some of the areas where we couldn't drive our rig.
Yeah. And that was the first time I think that was actually when we decided that we were going to, pursue a YouTube channel because we were so sort of struck by this whole concept of boondocking. We're like, this is amazing. And I think one of the things that really made an impression on me at that particular spot was the fact that we had so much space. Kind of our front door, if you will, was facing an area that nobody was ever going to park there because it was real wood, brush and everything. But it was so beautiful and so peaceful, and there was so much space. So we could go out and do our workouts in the mornings and stretch our leg. Nobody's watching you or anything. And then Hugo could chase the ball for days and never bother anybody. And I thought to myself, man, after you've been in a campground or at RV campgrounds for a whole year, being 10 feet away to be able to touch the camper next to you, and now all of a sudden nobody can even get close to you, and that's kind of your spot, all of it, you're thinking, man, I want to do this all the time.
Yeah. And it is like, if you're sitting here thinking about this and like, yeah, I don't know if I can actually boondock, can I do, we have so many videos. We have a whole boondocking playlist that you can go back and watch. And we talk about the logistics of how to boondock, about how to make your water last, about how to refill your water, how to dump your tanks when you're out in the middle of nowhere like that. So there's a lot of resources we have for you. In fact, we're thinking about releasing a course on.
We're going to.
We just
haven't gotten to it yet. We just released our other course, our full-time RV living course. If you're interested in full-time RV living, and never interested in boondocking, that's okay, because the full-time RV course covers all the other stuff that you need to know about, which is a lot.
Yeah, but we're thinking about, we're going to release the boondocking course. So if that's something you're interested in, a couple of things. One, let us know in the comments if that's something you're interested in, because obviously we want to hear about what you want to know about.
What your questions are.
Yeah, and then also join our email list. Go to our website, likethere'snotomorrow.net. Get on our email list, because we'll release it to the email list before we'll release it to the public, and we usually offer it at a pretty good price.
Yeah, in fact, one of the big questions that most people have about boondocking, I know it was me, was about solar. Everybody, it's not a topic that most people know that much about. And so I had to learn from scratch. And so we do have some good videos on the channel about our solar setup, but we also have a solar download where you can download the actual, I give you a spreadsheet of all the stuff that I had to buy, to install. And even though you may not have the same rig size as what we have and all that, it's still going to, I know with myself, I kind of needed to wrap my head around all the stuff that you had to have. Yeah. And again, it's free. Go on our website and you'll be able to see the solar download. Check it out.
So if you want to go to Bryce Canyon and explore, let me just tell you guys, if you haven't been to Bryce Canyon, it is amazing. It's one of my favorite national parks that we've been to. It's just so different than anything else.
Now, the thing about Bryce Canyon, though, I will say, is that it's pretty remote. And so the grocery stores that are nearby,
good point,
and you're in Utah, we have a whole thing when it comes to getting alcohol in Utah. It can be done, but...
you got to travel for it, man. They make you work to get your alcohol in Utah. But yeah, that is a great point. This Tom's Best Spring Road isn't really near a lot. I forget the name of the little town that's closest. Oh, shoot. I'll put it on the screen. But that's basically all you got. And
the Ace Hardware, which again had everything.
Yeah, but you are limited. The grocery store is very small. Its prices were pretty high. But it's just go in stocked up. You'll be fine. It's really not that big of a deal. And we did not dump we got water at the campground that we staged at before we went.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I think we lasted, because we were there 12 days. I think we lasted the 12 days, so
Yeah.
we didn't need to worry about it.
I don't know if we dumped there, but we could have. The campground, they were super cool. In
Yeah.
fact, they even allowed us to ship packages to them after we left. And they were just very helpful.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. And I'll give you all that information and put it in the description. So this is a winner if you're going to Bryce Canyon.
Okay, so there you go. Those are our top 5 favorite boondocking spots. I'm sure we could think a lot more, but we had to make this video, be
about a logical length.
Yeah.
Or we could go on and on. But if you're not into boondocking, you're wanting to stick your toe in there, just try it and try. These are the best of the best. There's so many other boondocking options out there, and I'll link to some videos where I talk about how to find them and things like that. But it is and has been one of the best moves we've ever made as far as getting the solar and the ability to boondock.
Well, we liked it so much. How many days last year?
Oh, I'll put it on the screen. 260, 70 something days.
Yeah, out of
boondocking.
the year last year, we boondocked. And so obviously as full-time RVers, it helped us save a ton of money.
Absolutely.
Doing it that way, and make matters even better, we love it.
Yeah.
So
it makes the experience of camping and RVing totally different. It's just a matter of, are you the kind of person that can work with the limited water and the dumping of the tanks and stuff remotely? I think that's really what it boils down to. But we hope you enjoyed this video and try some of these spots. And if you do, let us know. We want to hear about your journey there. See you next time, guys. Bye.